Hello, boys and girls. This is Timo from EAV Radio, and I have the distinct pleasure to be sitting with Chris and Angelo from Fishbone right before they start the tour with the Big Circus Tour with Less Than Jake, Suicide Machines, Bite Me Bambi, a little later, Cat Bite.
Yeah.
But I have the pleasure of sitting with you two gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Thanks
For
having us. You guys have been doing this for so long that I know things have changed. You have become different people, different musicians. So at this point in your careers, who do you think you are?
Mr. Big Stuff, you're never going to get my love. Now you go ahead and take it, man.
I'm still hopefully wiser and still, the 13-year-old that fell in love with ska and reggae and punk and Bootsy and Fear and the Jam and every other, bit of music that I would sort of consider significant building blocks, to be honest.
Well, actually, with that, I was going to ask this a little later, but this just fits right in there. You guys have always put so many different genres in your music. I do a ska punk radio show. I got into ska because of you guys, but you're not a ska band. I mean, you play ska.
We can play it.
You do play it. You play everything else, though.
We play soul music, man. Soul music.
You play soul, funk, ska, swing. I mean, you guys, if it can be played, metal, you guys hit it.
Everything is soul based, though.
The question that I want to, you mentioned, some of the folks that you always listen to. Who are your biggest influences? And are there any modern bands that you want people to check out that you're like, this is a really good up and comer?
Modern bands. Well, I'd have to. I really.
Pink Seafood.
The last, Pink Seafood.
Pink Seafood.
Man,
don't ask me that question, motherfucker. You the musicologist, motherfucker. You know you a whole list, motherfucker's a whole encyclopedia of music and with titles and dates too.
I think like for me and Angelo, it's like, I was raised in a household with my uncle who played like everything you could possibly imagine, from Hendrix to Traffic to Coltrane to Miles. He was a huge Miles Davis fan. Sly and the Family Stone, I think, Parliament Funkadelic, obviously. Like that's
Rick James Brown.
Rick James Brown.
Duke Ellington, Bobby Blue Bland.
The Stax stuff, the Motown stuff, the Muscle Shoals stuff, like everything. So that's why he's like, you say something, Chris, you got the encyclopedic knowledge of music. And there's so much music out there now. Excuse me. I'm very hip hop has turned into something where I'm very specific about what I like. Like pretty much for me, Kendrick is like undisputed. Like if hip hop had a Muhammad Ali, it would be Kendrick Lamar. Like straight up. And then it's then I have to jump back to the early parts of the 2000s and be like Ghostface and Wu-Tang. I like a lot of Wu-Tang stuff. I would say now pretty much if it's hip-hop, I listen to Griselda.
Griselda, right.
All the Griselda artists. Yeah. And when it comes to sort of modern ska and reggae stuff, I love God, what's this fucking band? The Interrupters, from England. God, I'm totally blanking. This is what happens when you smoke a lot of weed. Trojans. Trojans is like
Gaz
is I would consider Gaz Mayo more of a person that informed us. Like, we thought we were killing the game when we heard the specials. And then Gaz and Jason Mayo sort of, pulled us to the side and politely opened up a whole other
airplane
entire, you've been focused on this one dot here, and then they go, but what about this entire airplane
Hangar
hangar
work and
filled
shit,
with
yeah.
Reggae and Rocketti and Cox and
The
Dodd?
Tokyo Sky scene, Tokyo Sky Paradise Orchestra. Oh
Yeah,
my
really.
God.
They're crazy. I've seen them.
Yeah,
once.
they're great. They're great.
Oi Sky Mates is another one. I
Yeah,
like Oi Sky Mates. Bakafu Slumpu is another one.
Agrolites, obviously.
Yeah.
Not just because they're the
Skylights.
homies, but you know.
They are good guys too. They realize they're
they're
good, all
like-
good musicians, good guys all around.
They're like the best people I know, for real.
Well, let's talk about y'all, because y'all have a new album coming out, Stockholm Syndrome.
Yep.
I was curious a little bit about the name Stockholm Syndrome. I read some interviews that you had done, Chris, about how it was kind of the band in a hamster wheel, I think is what you said.
Yeah, that's the best way I could.
I was curious though if you thought about it at all from the fans' point of view, because this was my first thing until I read your interview about
Of
that.
what? Of what?
About our own society getting caught in this.
Sure.
In the
I
same
mean,
thing.
it's
We're in love now with our the people taking us
With our
hostage.
captor.
With the captor.
Yeah.
Oh, Trump,
Yeah.
the captor. The
I wouldn't
enemies.
even-
We
I
got
wouldn't
enemy is
even-
within.
I wouldn't even like, and you know, as you peel back the layers of the onion, and you realize it's not even those people. They're the distraction. They're the thing that you know, if you need a poster child to throw darts at, that's it. But they're not, you know, nobody's really operating the machinery. That's just the puppet they stick out there. Like this is turned into a consumer-based, you know, fascist oligarchy. Really, if you're going to be, you know, a corporate consumer-based fascist oligarchy. That's what's
They've
going on.
captured you.
And it's really weird because as everyone sort of attempts to rewrite history, which is what it is, it's like, and in a lot of ways to make it like a black and white issue, again, is part of the puppet mastery. Like, I just met you, you're white, I'm black, who gives a fuck? But when they start to arm this part of it, there's a vast part of our population that are uninformed and uneducated and feel underrepresented. If you find a figurehead that will speak to all of their anxiety and all their shortcomings and all the shit that they feel that their entitlements
And fears.
and
as well.
fears
Yeah.
mostly, like, you know, like that song Hellhounds I wrote, it, you know, on the surface it sounds like whatever, but it's like there's an entire system within the government when it comes to incarceration. Like, how do black people make up 13.8% of the population, but 97% of the people in jail who are, in a lot of cases, wrongfully accused or in for some minor drug charge? I could do something and you could do something, and then we would get different sentences.
Yep.
Based on the complexion of my skin. Like, that's what we are as a society.
And you would consider, you guys have been, through music and song, you guys have been singing about this for over 30 years.
Yeah. And it's like, when are
Does
we
it
going to
frustrate
get
you the fact that we're still having the same discussion?
It frustrates me that we're still having the same discussion. It frustrates me at times how naive I am, because I always believe in people's better angels were going to come and save all of us. But there's no evidence of that happening. And then now you have an entire generation of people that are sort of addicted to these phones, and they can't have any more than a 2-minute conversation without staring into some blank. Staring into some fucking blank screen that basically information is being curated to your point of view. Like, how would you discover anything in life? Do you think I would have discovered the specials growing up in South Central Los Angeles? Like, it wouldn't have happened.
Well, I discovered Fishbone in the late 80s in Atlanta, Georgia, Peachtree City, Georgia. I say Atlanta because you wouldn't know where Peachtree City is.
Sure,
but
exactly.
There was no internet back then.
Exactly. And so when people, and the other thing is, when people found music they loved, it drew them into this whole other world opening up to them, you know? And so that was like really the basis of what Fishbone was built off of.
Well, you guys also help build a community, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just this group that comes together that we can then see the difference and go, that's not a big deal. What the fuck? Right?
Yeah, exactly. But what happened is people's money and corporate interests start to align, and then it becomes all about money. And the same question I find myself asking every morning is, it's like, why is it that I have peers that have influence, power, money, that could actually really factor into changing and help changing some of these ideologies that say that's what they stand for, but they ain't doing shit. Like, here we are with our little fucking voice that we have, and I'm not diminishing us, because I'm not diminishing myself, but certainly we don't have vast platform as some of our contemporaries, and yet still they have no urge to speak on any of this shit.
Well, hopefully that is going to change. And one reason I say that, I was fortunate enough, your record people gave me the record early so I could listen to it, since I was going to talk to you guys.
Oh wow, cool.
And it's amazing. I think I got into you guys' Truth and Soul before Reality My Surroundings came out. And it followed you guys ever since. There was a 10-year gap where I didn't listen to any music, and I just kind of vanished.
Gotcha,
and I ended up coming back to it. But I think, I called my brother and I'm like, you need to listen to this, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I did. And I let him listen to it. And I was like, you gotta listen to this. I'll get to it. I'm like, dude, this is up there with when we first got into them, both politically and musically, what they have done. And he called me back 2 days later, because he took his time, didn't really, and then he called me back.
Talking about this record now,
Yeah.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome. He's like, oh my God, you weren't kidding. You guys, you hit all the same political things that need to be hit and that you have hit in the past. You hit, again, as I mentioned before, so many styles. In all the songs, it changes. I wanted to ask you a little bit about, with creating this, what, at this point, how has it changed, and what is your songwriting process now? Because this, just musically and message-wise, I think this is a phenomenal album.
Thank you.
And needs to be spread and spread.
I mean, you mind if I say something, bro? Because I just want to speak. Because, look, here's the weird part. I'm literally with the person that pretty much, like, I don't know if you can say this about friendships in your life, but we can kind of get in this place where 90% of the shit we're going to say, we're on the same page with each other.
I know, because I was going to say, motherfucker, you done passed them you done answered 3 questions.
I know.
And I was getting ready to answer one.
But I was like,
I'll let you go, but you were still on the same. We're still on the same highway. It's not like you're going completely opposite, like on the other highway, going like that. And I'm like, okay, I'll let you go ahead.
But you know what it is? It's like we're so like we've been in sync since we were kids, and even the point where I left the band and became incredibly sort of creatively frustrated. We still can pick up where we left off, and that's what you call a great friendship.
But I do want to say something about that last question, though.
But
go ahead, finish that. We'll get
but so the thing that I think is different, that me and Angelo have the good fortune of having had evolved together. The songs that you're hearing are stuff that he and I have been working on. Like, I started writing some of these songs the moment the douchebag in chief came down the escalator. I had a feeling about it, having lived in New York and talked to people and have friends.
What's the douchebag in chief came coming down the escalator?
I know what he's talking about.
What is that?
I don't want to say his name right
What's
now.
the
I don't want to give
douchebag in
him. I don't want to give.
Is that a book?
You know what commander in chief is?
What is it? Who is it?
Who's the commander in chief?
Of what?
This country.
Oh, you mean Trump and fucking...
See, that's why I didn't want to... Yeah, so he knew what I was
But you know what,
saying.
though? It's obvious.
Okay.
It's okay. Sometimes it's okay to camouflage. Sometimes you might as well say...
I was in the middle.
But it's okay, though. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I've been working on these songs since he came down the escalator. We, I think, got to this place, and not to harp too much on the past and personnel changes and that kind of stuff, where we just felt like voiceless. And in that, it sort of erupted into like Stockholm Syndrome is kind of representative of that. And so because of the turmoil, we end up being the two last men standing. And we've always had these sort of very singular type of voices stylistically that work well together. And so what I think it ended up being is just this sort of unfettered, like, we're gonna get it all out. Angelo writes from an emotional place a lot of times that's super honest, that people can relate to. And I think that's what resonates on the record. I do the same thing, except for a lot of these songs are very political leaning. Because how could you watch Breonna Taylor get shot 6 times, a no-knock warrant, and somebody comes in here and kicks in the door and shoots all of us without any regard for human life?
And that's a line out of one of the songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you know, and so on and so forth. So how could anybody, like, you know, why do we keep on dying, which is something that I collaborated on in the past with Walt, as well as Last Call in America. But want to say these things that were happening. Like, I grew up listening to Gil Scott and The Last Poets and all these different things that kind of inform that. And it's not and I see some of the things, the ugly things that people calling us niggas and stuff online and all that, and that's like, whatever. I just feel bad for them.
They're just advertising the same.
Because how ignorant and uninformed they are.
Piece of shit.
Like, especially being here in the South, right? Because, you know, the South has this sort of image of like being non-inclusive, but I grew up in Arkansas. Like, some people call it the most racist state in the United States. Okay, maybe I didn't grow up like that. My family didn't take that kind of shit. I can't speak for everybody else,
right.
But everybody's not as blessed as I am. So, like, I look at the world, this country is black and white, but I know when I go to France, they don't think the same way. And I know when I go to England, I go to Germany, they mostly feel embarrassed for us, realizing that black people have basically anything culturally that is happening that is American, we have been at the forefront of creating. So it's like, kind of like, why do you hate like the rest of the world? Look at us. You got these amazing
There's not
people.
a lot of white people that will admit to that.
Yeah, well,
true.
I mean, they can. Like, you know,
everything culture we have, musically, food, name it.
Yeah. So
Stems from black culture.
yeah, it does, and so it's kind of crazy.
Look, man, that's the kind of fake news we putting out there.
So I
You
want
wanted to answer that question as well?
You want to answer the question?
See, Trump is entertainment, as you can see. This is my view on Trump. You know, he's an entertainer, and America is an entertainment-driven culture, right? You have a lot of people that believe more fantasy than they do reality, and Trump is he's one of the best entertainers around. He's like the Joker. However, you don't take the Joker seriously. You leave the Joker in the fantasy place where he's supposed to be, in the TV or the comic book or whatever. So the majority of people in America have let the Joker into their life because they're believing in the fantasy of what he's putting out. But as everybody can see, it's not turning out that way. You know?
I'm going to turn you back around.
Yeah.
Songwriting. You wanted to ask that question before we started going on your songwriting process.
Right now, what was the question again?
The question was, over the years, have you guys developed with your songwriting process in getting the sound that you have now?
Well, I know a lot of these songs that are on the record were from when the last lineup was together and everything was starting to dissipate. And so a lot of this is like unfinished business too, you know, that we had started on, but then the division started to happen. And then so this is just us continuing a lot of the stuff that we were working on finishing, because we just couldn't leave it there, just because some of the other band members had another way they wanted to go, or they didn't believe in it anymore. You know,
that makes sense.
But at the same time, while that was happening, there was a lot of restrictions and there was a lot of dysfunction going on, and abuse and ego and pride going on within the band members, which kept us from putting anything out. But it was, at that time, we were still creating a lot of music, and there was a lot of tension and a lot of trauma from all of that dysfunction in the band too, which ended up in some of the songs.
I could guess a couple of which ones, I think.
Yeah, Suckered by Sabotage, Adolescent Regressive Behavior.
That was the one that I was going for.
Yeah, that one right there. That's some real, talking to your psychiatrist kind of lyrics, Yeah.
Well, with your answer there in mind, of you said, kind of wrapping up some of this stuff to finish.
And we wanted, and so what I always say about the Stockholm Syndrome, from one aspect I always revert to, Stockholm Syndrome means we thank our captors. So when Fishbone started turning to Fishbone Penitentiary, with all of those things I just mentioned, right, all the dysfunctional shit, it became like being captive, because I couldn't, nor could Chris, get his music out the way we wanted to through that lineup of guys, right? And so, but we still want to thank them for the influence and just, the energy, even if it was negative, because if it wasn't for even some of that stuff, we would not have been able to come up with these group of songs like we have now.
My opinion from looking back on our energy, the one thing that I loved about you was, if you looked at your original lineup, you were all such different people. And that's what you could hear in Reality My Surroundings. You could hear, this came from him, this came from, and it came together. Yeah. And it's unfortunate of what you were talking about, of how that kind of fell apart. But yeah, I could see how everybody, even if left with a bad taste, was very important in what you guys have become.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, for finishing up, you guys have wrapped it up really well with this album. Now, my next question is, it's going to keep going, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to stop.
I think so.
No. We're blessed.
I think so.
We're blessed with the guys that, like, when we put the band, when Angelo and I put this band together, I think the goal was to find people that were super talented. And then we got lucky enough to get Spacey back in the band at the same time.
Spacey T.
Because Spacey's like...
Plus, he was there before during the Special Forces lineup. He was there for about 5 years.
Well, you ever seen that movie?
A real good bunch of
Guillotine?
Fishbone music.
I have not seen that.
Okay, it's like like kung fu movies where you watch like 6 kung fu movies in a day.
I've done that, but I haven't seen that movie.
So Master of the Flying Guillotine was like this old, like Shaolin monk, and he's like on the hill, and he's blind.
He's blind.
The blind swordsman. Okay.
But he's got this guillotine. It's like a flying guillotine. That's Tracy.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of.
He's a master.
The master of the
I've
flying
seen
guillotine.
but not the guillotine one. I'll have to find
You
that.
gotta see that shit because it's ill. It's crazy. So he's like the master of flying guillotine on guitar. He really is. It fits really well because he can play everything, and I'm used to having played with Kendall.
Somebody that can play it, because Kendall played everything.
Kendall can play everything.
Like everything on the board, all the origins of the songs, everything. Because all the songs, they got origins to it and everything. Spacey T knows all of the origins of all of the genres of music that we're playing. You ain't got to teach him shit.
And that was a real blessing, and to be such a good human being at the same time, So you feel like super fortunate in that regard. Because I wanted to find people that were better musicians than us. And to be better musicians than me and Angelo is a fucking tall order.
Yeah.
It really is.
Allow me to just stoke your egos, and I know you said you're blessed. We're blessed for the music you put out, so thank you. And
thank you.
I'm going to keep pushing you to keep putting out more music, please.
We are. We're working on... We're working on making more music, like literally while we're on this tour.
Nice.
So we can have a release this time next year, like we are. And then I have something very sort of lofty that I'm trying to convince Angelo into doing.
You can't tell me about it now, can you?
Yeah,
okay, that's fine.
But I can say it's like
You just know that it's lofty.
It's
It hasn't been done in music.
I'm excited.
Now,
Let's just say a lot of music.
I just did a revised version
Come in.
of lyric. I just did a lyric video of Last Call in America.
You busy right now?
Yeah, we're doing.
We're finishing up though. What's going on, Baz? What you need?
Nothing. My water bottle.
Oh, water. Okay, because I still want to talk to you about ordering those antennas, man. I couldn't fucking.
No worries.
You were saying
I
something
just
about
wrote a lyric video. I just finished a lyric video for Last Call in America. So we already got a video for Last Call in America out there, but it doesn't have the lyrics to it. So I just finished putting the lyrics in Final
nice.
Cut Pro. I know how to do Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, I shared the original video on my last radio show.
And so you might be able to see it on there.
Lyrical video coming for that.
On YouTube.
Yep. I'll help promote that.
I got 2 books. Gotta tell you about my books. I got The Olegna Phenomenon. That's my storytime theater book. My social is based under the title Social Studies. So I got a full book with an audio book that goes with it. And I got another music book, Scott Do Us, Scott Don't. It comes with music and a lyric book and art too. I got a bunch of shit there, yeah. CDs, thumb drives, all that.
What about me?
Oh, lay it on
No,
him, man.
you say. I like it when you say it better.
Oh, yeah, and he's got a vinyl, the CD Orchestra, right? CD Orchestra, right? So he got a vinyl called the CD Orchestra, and it's pretty goddamn good. And he's gonna have a jigsaw puzzle to go with it. Mm-hmm. A jigsaw
Where
puzzle.
can anybody hearing this find that stuff? Where can they go online?
At the merch
Merch if you're on this, what if somebody
or
can't
at for a CD Orchestra, Escape Hatch Records
Yeah.
online.
Okay.
Yeah, or fishbone.net.
Fishbone.
And it's
Dr.
a very small boutique run of the CD Orchestra.
Dr.
Let me
Mary-
break in
Doc-
here and say on fishbone.net you can also right now still pre-order Stockholm Syndrome. I already have. So
Mhm,
if you're
right.
listening to this and you haven't yet,
And
go pre-order.
drmanvibe.com. You can get the books.
You heard it.
Both of my books on
drmadvibe.com.
drmanvibe.com or fishbone.net.
So you like Stockholm Syndrome, huh?
Yes.
That's good.
I from again with the different styles of music that you hit, the power of the lyrics, and again it sounds, I hate to say it, post Reality My Surroundings, so do Monkey Brain, which was good. I think it started sounding less together.
That's not bad though.
It's none of it's bad, but it started
Right.
sounding less together in my opinion.
Mm.
It was more individual, this, as opposed to it coming together. And
Oh,
this
talking about Stockholm,
No,
the Stockholm Syndrome sound like it's more come together,
sound comes
cohesive, right?
together, where I think you kind of veered off from that back in the day. My personal opinion.
After Give a Monkey a Brain? Kind of veered off? Yeah.
See, I can't tell.
What's because you're making them?
I can't tell because I'm in there making it right. Yeah, so I can't tell.
Well, one last question I always like to ask everybody. I did the normal question I'd always end with any blurbs of anything else you want to promote. We got that.
Okay.
Books.
Books, T-shirts, yeah, all that. Yeah.
I've gotten some good answers. I've gotten some blank looks, and then everything for this last question when I've asked folks I'm interviewing. Take a minute to think about it. You guys have been touring for a long time. What's one of the craziest, oh my God, stories? It could be something a fan did. It could be something one of the band did. I mean, and in your time, I know you've had some crazy shit happen. What is one story you're just like, oh my God, you got to hear this. It's unbelievable. Do you guys have any of those you want to share?
Unbelievable story.
Trying to make them in a good, fun way, but you know.
When the last lineup disappeared and suddenly this one did right in front of my eyes. Bling! Oh my God. Was that
So-
too fucking heavy? Wait a minute.
It's okay.
We were playing the original
That was some
lineup.
adolescent aggressive behavior, wasn't it?
We were playing. It was a benefit for Rodney King after the riots, and we played a show with us and Tom Waits and Los Lobos.
Oh God, that would be a show I'd want to see.
Yeah, it was incredible. And okay, this is kind of too funny story. So, like a few years ago, they asked me to play with Sublime, and I totally shit the bed. trying to play with Sublime. Like I'll do this thing if I get nervous. Like I could be practicing something and super know it, and then I'll get nervous and everything I learned just goes out of my brain. And we played with Tom Waits, and I am like a Tom Waits fanatic. And there I was, and he was like, "Yeah, you want to come up and sing Temptation?" And I came up on stage and sang Temptation, and I got so drunk before we sang that all the lyrics went out of my head.
Is that
and
at
I
the Wiltern?
got so the Wiltern. I got so nervous, I was wasted, and I fell off the front of the stage and hit the fucking orchestra pit, and it was just like, and Tom Waits was like, "Are you okay?" and it was really embarrassing. I just forgot all the lyrics to Temptation
And then fell off the stage.
and fell off the stage.
He fell to temptation.
Yeah, it was really kind of crazy.
Now, what was the question?
Any crazy story from the road or something hilarious that happened that's just like, you will not believe this actually happened on tour?
When I got kicked off the merch table, and I went selling my merch all around everywhere but the merch table. And then I came up with my enterprise, Dr. Mad Vibes Underground Contraband Railroad. And so it was like I took on this persona of Harry Tubman. Actually, it opened up a whole door of possibilities for me. But I remember it was a rough time I had to go through. And he understood why I was doing it, but the rest of the band was like, "Oh, he's selling his merch. He's making more money than Fishbone is. We need to get him out of there." So it was pretty surreal because I had to perform through all that too, you know. And so I kind of learned how strong I can be in the face of adversity.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome, praising your captors, you know. Because if it wasn't for that,
You mean falling in love with your captain?
that too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's almost like
He didn't mean it.
It's almost like
Shoot me. I made him mad.
It's almost like
It's my fault.
It's
my
almost like
fault.
a
yeah, exactly.
Shawshank Redemption moment. Andy Dufresne dug through 9 miles of shit to get to freedom. I dug through 9 miles of shit. Now I'm here on the other side with another band. Another reason to be in the entertainment business, which is music and merchandise, because I got a shitload of merchandise, t-shirts, books, soap, shampoo, credit card, thumb drives. I got like a bunch of stuff, man. It just kind of made me really, out of resentment and rebellion, made sure that I had my merchandise shit together. My card swiper, all my numbers, all of my merch, my stock, my connections to make t-shirts and everything else. All based on a fuck you, I won't do what they tell me. And so through that whole, just the will to be like, fuck this shit, I'm not gonna let this, don't let them stomp your spirit. That's the Gelato the Clown lyric right
That's
there.
one of my favorite songs.
That's like some anti-bullying shit.
Yeah, I really like that.
That's based off of some of what I went through in
I know.
Fishbone too.
I would love to do a video of that one in particular. You know, just act the whole thing.
That's the one that to me almost goes old school swing. Just
Oh, it does.
Right? I mean,
Absolutely. It's like some New Orleans.
New
It's like
Orleans,
some New
right.
Orleans
Second
line. Craziness. Yeah.
all right. Well, I'm holding you guys, I think, longer than you had promised me.
It's whatever, man.
Okay.
Everybody out there, listen. If depending on when you're hearing this, make sure you go and see the circus tour. Catch Fishbone on this. Go pre-order their new album, Stockholm Syndrome.
That's
If you were a Fishbone soldier before and kind of fell off the wayside, you need to come back. If you were never a Fishbone soldier, you need to become one now, because here they are again. And after this album, I think it's going to blow up, and they're going to keep going. So you need to get on this ride early.
That's right. Get your tickets now.
We made something it speaks to everyone. It doesn't matter. Like, we all need to snap out of it. and take our country back.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And that's the message more than anything. It's like, snap out of it and take your country back. No one's going to save you but you.
Chris, Angelo, thank you very much for taking the time to talk.
Thank you,
You're so welcome, man. Oh, yeah.